Hey everybody, welcome to this month's NeQter Town Hall. Uh, Hopefully everyone had a good 4th of July weekend with your family. I know I had burgers and dogs for about 3 days in a row, so I'm definitely going to change up my diet this week moving forward, but it was great. Hopefully everyone was safe, kept all your fingers, and we're going to move into July, move into the heat with, we have an upcoming update that I'm going to be reviewing on the call today. If anyone has any questions, please use the questions area or use the chat on the side, but otherwise we'll get started. So for today's agenda, we have upcoming update 223. We're in testing right now, so it should be out shortly, perhaps as early as next week or the week after. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happened with this update, so it was a large undertaking, but only some of the things are going to be visual on the user side. And of course, we'll cover, there hasn't really been any ecosystem updates, but we'll just kind of cover what's happened to date and what we can imagine happening in the next couple of months. And then if there's any questions that you have for anything, for NeQter, for the software, for CMMC, do my best to cover those on the call today. So update 223. So for 223, one of the largest things that you're going to see is the system health and maintenance report. So I'm actually going to break down everything that is in that report and all of the specifics so we can see the usefulness of it. We also updated the compliance help page. There's a lot of people pointed out there was some dead links or some resources that had updated. So all of those got updated and covered in this upcoming update. So it's not in there now, but will be in there shortly. We also reworked some Windows agent defaults from things that have been, of course, recommended by Microsoft, and then we put our own little spin on it. I'll get into that a little later. And then one of the big things that we have, because we have between update to update, we review security and update certain things. But this was a deep dive that we did for some system security and dependencies on the NeQter system itself. So not visible to you, but very important, of course, with the health and the security of NeQter with the operating system and all of the associated software and dependencies. So to start off talking about the system health and maintenance report. So this is the long view of everything that's included in it, and I'll break that down as we kind of pace through. But overall, it provides a snapshot of the current status of your license and information like that. It was really designed to help admins monitor the health of your systems and make sure everything is running optimally. But maybe I don't know if selfishly is the right word, but it's going to help our support team in troubleshooting. So reduce time, I kind of get right to the root of the problem just by taking a look at the snapshot. And it's going to show up in the reports area like all of the other reports that we have. So let me start to break down what is included in that report. So first and foremost, at the very, very top, it's going to have the NeQter Health and Status Report. I cut out a bit of what the title has. It basically has NeQter Health and Status Report, name of the NeQter, and then it's going to have a timestamp. So It'll have things like your customer ID and system type, so we can see the tier size, and then the version that's installed and the version that's reported by the update server. So if you're on 219 or 220, it'll tell you you're installed on that version, but here's the latest one. And you can see that on the infographic when you log into NeQter, but this is going to be in this report and timestamped. It also tells you when your license is expiring. Again, you see that when you log into NeQter, but we'll see this in this report as well. It also has user information. So we can see the total number of users, how many of those users are admins, and if you're using, if you have any LDAP users. So you see local, you'll see LDAP, you'll see how many people are administrators on the NeQter. We can also see, again, instead of having to go into settings and reviewing what the settings say, this is a snapshot of the backup settings. So is the archive enabled? Yes. How many days of visualize and archive logs are you maintaining on NeQter? Do you have remote backups turned on? If so, what's the path? And then do you have a toolset backups enabled? So this is an area where anything that's a no might be a problem. You want to make sure that the archives are turned on. You'll want to have toolset backups turned on. So those are going to be things that we check, but you'll be able to see in the snapshot of this report. Now, this one is very important. I was thinking about adding in arrows pointing to different things that I found important, but I there'd be a lot of arrows. So I'll just kind of break down. So hardware information, obviously you get the hardware if you get the hardware from NeQter, that's going to be rigid or more defined, more static than say a virtual machine. So this is going to be very important from a virtual machine standpoint, because sometimes we find that NeQter is not installed on optimal system resources. Whether it might be oh well, I've given it X amount of cores. Okay, well, how good is that CPU? An important thing that comes up for us is disk read and write speed, because that's foundational to how the platform operates. Can it read and write fast enough? Or if it's lagging behind, or if those read writes are too slow, it can lead to problems. It can lead to index issues and what have you. So you'll be able to see, okay, well, what is my system uptime, total disk space, and all of that there, usage. Again, you can see that on the health dashboard for NeQter. But disk read write is something that we occasionally had to have support, open up an SSH and go into the back end and see. Well, we can kick that to the front now, just right in this report. Memory and RAM, very important. CPU usage. We can also see, of course, what hypervisor. So that helps us know, okay, well, are a lot of people using VMware or Hyper-V or Proxmox or ESXi? And one of the things that we found with either older systems or systems that had lower resources than we needed, Redis, which is a service, would start to bloat and take up additional usage. And sometimes we would have to curb that service if it kind of had a runaway known as a Redis leak. So that's a little bit in the weeds, but that's why this is important. It helps you and it helps us, instead of having a lot of meetings, when it could be just a quick look at, this is actually not something that it's good. We need this to change, or this needs to be a different speed or setting. So that's why this is a nice aspect of the report. Outside of that, events information past 7 days. So just a summary of total events and log on events, or if there's any down detection events, just a summary in that little block there. And then this is a good breakdown of hosts. Again, you can go and eyeball it in the hosts area, but this is just listed out right in this report here. So we can see total hosts, types of hosts, number of groups. Most importantly, what agent version are we dealing with? Because sometimes we get a ticket, we get someone say, you know, oh, uh, I'm not seeing this data, or I'm not seeing this inventory for this asset. And then sometimes we go in there and we see, oh, well, you're on an old agent, you're on 211.5 or something like that. So we can eyeball quickly, make sure everything is up on the latest version of certain agents that we need. Now, for this alert section, this is just going to summarize all alerts that are turned on. Give us a breakdown of each alert, what associated search is with that alert, how many times that alert has triggered and created an event. Now, what you don't want to see is at the top here, total alert 0 with nothing listed, because that means that nothing is turned on. Sometimes we see that when we log into a client. So you definitely don't want that to be 0. You want to have alerts turned on, and then it just summarizes all the different alerts that you have turned on, all of the details for the alerts, and how many times that they have seemed to trigger. Additionally, there's inputs, just spells everything out, total number of inputs, label, input type, if logs have been seen in the last 24 hours. So again, we go into settings, we go into inputs, we see visually the indicator of logs being seen in the last 24 hours. But this is going to help us so I'll just pull it up here, 24-hour status. On the right here, this is just going to give us a yes or no. And then every single dashboard turned on. This one here, very important. Sometimes we get I'm not seeing 365 logs. Well, is the integration enabled? This will definitively say yes or no if that integration is turned on. And then lastly, we can see all vulnerability tasks listed out, last time they ran, last time the report was run, and just a summary of if we have scans turned on. Again, sometimes we go in, we don't see those scans turned on. We have to eyeball it in the phone scanner. This shows us definitively, yep, yes, these phone scans are turned on, and here's all the details around them. So that's what that big report helps us to see. So it's going to provide you with a snapshot, provide you with certain, proofs that things are turned on and things are running appropriately or optimally. But then it also can be something that might help our support side, where you send in a ticket and we say, great, you send us over the, your most recent report, just to see if we can eyeball something quickly before setting up a call or setting up a meeting for something potentially simple. So that is what that new report is going to cover. Outside of that, I mentioned we had the updated compliance help page. So all these links have been updated. Obviously, a couple of years ago, things moved from ANS, and now they're hosted in a separate, DoD office. So everything that's been updated. And of course, there's been recent changes, or of course with NIST 800.171, there's Rev 3 and what have you. So all of these on the help tab in the compliance tool have all been updated. But then at the very bottom, we have the ability to download those templates for um, importing a new SSP into NeQter. So as I talked about last time with the last update that we had, there's the SSP import export. So this is what the documents look like, whether it's CMMC, whether it's NIST. So NIST Rev 2 and CMMC Level 1, Level 2. Those are the different templates that we have. So at the bottom, you can access and download right there a blank one. Of course, if you already have an SSP and you want to download it or export it, that's an export option in the tool. So once you download that, move your data over. If you haven't used the NeQter compliance tool yet, you have an SSP outside of the tool, maybe it's in Excel. Well, you can just grab this template, move everything over, and then you can import it when you create a net new system security plan. So under create system security plan, source, you can drag and drop or upload that SSP template. Or you can, of course, just create a net new NIST or CMMC system security plan. So outside of those things, additionally, we reworked a lot of the Windows event IDs for Active Directory and PC monitoring. So if it's Active Directory, there's a bunch of different things that are turned on now, because we had a subset before, but then there is a Microsoft blog that we point to now that says, all of these different event IDs should be turned on for monitoring Windows, monitoring Active Directory. So that's what we've sourced from. So we've updated the Active Directory monitoring baseline or template, updated the local PC or local event IDs monitoring. File monitoring stayed the same. All of those event IDs are the same, but there were a couple for both AD and local event logs or the PC monitoring that contributed immensely to the volume. So we put those in a separate high volume events category. So, Microsoft recommends, or they have listed that those are ones that should potentially be turned on. But we just put them in their own high volume events because, no joke, these specific high volume events contributed, because we tested internally, 60 to sometimes 80% of the log volume was just these handful of events. So for those of you that are experienced with these particular event IDs, you'll go, oh, yep, yeah, those will contribute volume. It really comes down to process creation and process termination, and handles to an object or accessing certain things. Now, of course, these two are turned on for file auditing because, like, the general nature of those, they need to be turned on. That's how when files have been accessed or changed. And then this 4690. So wanted to mention that. So if you want to take a look at those new defaults, you'd have to deselect and reselect them. It's not gonna change the current settings that you have. You'd have to go and turn them on and enable them again, and it will provide a full list of all of the different ones, if you break all these out like we had before. So that's just a change that we performed there. And then we, added that high volume events. So you can determine if you'd like to turn those on or not. So outside of that, again, kind of light. And I know I extrapolated that reports, but I thought that was important to cover all of the different things that report includes. I think it's a very, very helpful report, potentially the most helpful one that we have, that we'll be adding. Some additional things that were some bugs or different fixes that were brought to our attention by our users. Um, Notably, at the bottom here, the other input syslog priority needed to be reparsed. So we did that. There were some users with WatchGuard. There was some changes that WatchGuard had, so we needed to reparse that. That is going to be wrapped up in this update. For Spurs and SSP reports with the CMMC controls, they had been referencing the NIST controls like 311 instead of course, AU dot L1 TAC 311. So that has been updated appropriately for those reports. And one of the things we had to revisit secure syslog to force TLS, because the way that it was it would not auto negotiate. So we have forced it to negotiate to the higher standards, of course, instead of relegating to 1.1 or 1.2, version 1.2 for TLS. And then for this was a gripe that I had, but when you would update an agent group and it would kick it to the bottom, that no longer happens. So agent groups will not be reordered anymore when you make a change. So some light things have been improved with that. Again, the security update was a big undertaking, making sure painstakingly going through everything, making sure everything was up to snuff in the way that it needs to be. And then that report and other changes that we made. So that's what 223 is going to have in it. And again, we're in testing and should be out shortly. So outside of that, there really hasn't been any ecosystem updates. We're all waiting, just waiting for 48 to come out, see when it decides to. I'm sure as the summer grows or as we get into the fall, we'll have 48 be coming out and be starting to written into contracts. There has been increasing the number of C3PAOs available on the marketplace. We're up to 74 now. I checked it this morning for C3PAOs. So the numbers are increasing. Of course, one of the most important things is evaluating the appropriate C3PAO to use for an assessment, making sure that you're speaking the same language, you're on the same page, they're familiar with the type of environment that you have, they're familiar with the type of cloud or not cloud or on-prem, the different services or tools that you have in the environment. So I think that even though we're halfway or just past the halfway mark through the year, there is some very small availability for 2025, but it's really 2026 at this point for scheduling. If you want to schedule a formal assessment, of course, you can go the route of getting a mock assessment, or of course, getting a program management or evaluation of your CMMC progress. I see a couple people on the call here that I can recommend you to that might know their stuff and are certified as CCPs or RPs. So if you need any help with that, we'll always be a sounding board for that, because we've seen a few clients pass and already get their L2 assessment done and get their L2 certification. But most people are in the camp of preparation or final tweaks, or just maybe even getting a mock assessment to see if they can pass muster. So definitely reach out to us if you have any questions on that. But otherwise, any questions on anything, whether it be NeQter or update 223, that report, or future updates. I know where I still need to, I think 223 is the last version 2, because we've been in parallel working on and finishing and wrapping up version 3. But of course, we don't want the current tool to be stagnant. We want to fix things and improve things. And of course, if there's any bugs or anything like that, keep version 2 going. There might be one last small update, but we're really looking to switch over to version 3 as we wrap that up. So there's going to be a lot to cover for version 3. And one of the things that we're doing, so we do have these monthly webinars. Something that I recently started doing, just because we sometimes got a lot of requests. We started to get a lot of requests for, hey, I have a new team member, they would like to see NeQter, or could you re-show me these areas of NeQter, or what have you. And I was doing several of those a week. So one of the things that we've started to do is a bi-weekly group training demo that it runs every 2 weeks, and one's in the morning and one's in the afternoon to accommodate different time zones. So if you need a new team member, or someone just kind of wants to get a walkthrough of NeQter and field questions, we have that available. So I'll look to see if I can drop that in the chat quickly, so that you can register and pick which session you want to join. So that's something new that we're doing, because this is the first solo webinar I've done since we had our good friend Nick Fur to move on. So and he'd been coordinating with a lot of you on your quarterly meetings, which have now been shifted to our support team. So they're handling those, they're running those. And one of the things that came out of those meetings was kind of a request to make that new report. So we're trying to find efficiencies and trying to find ways to improve. So that was one of them. And yeah, so let me drop in the chat the bi-weekly training demos. So just threw that in there. And yeah, so any questions, any comments that we would like to end the webinar today? I see quite a few people, a little bit more than usual, which is always good. But let me know if there's anything that you guys would like to cover, or can definitely wrap up and give you back the rest of your afternoon. So I'll wait, see for the next minute or so, see if there's any questions. I know it might take a bit for people to type, but otherwise we'll look to wrap up. This was recorded as a reminder, of course, always recorded and always available on our YouTube channel. Just drop that link in the chat again. So yeah, I see people starting to drop. So I'll sign off for today. Thanks everyone for your time, and we'll talk again in August. Have a great rest of your July.